DnDFtF wants to know. Are you afraid of the dark? We're taking a look into the darkness spell for D&D 5e. Hello humanity, it is I, Evans Colton. This is D&D for the family. This is the first video in our Astral Planes Drifter series, where we dive deeply into tactics, topics, spells, and situations. Darkness is a second level evocation spell. Its casting time, 1 action. Its range, 60 feet. Components, verbal and material. Bat fur and a drop of pitch or piece of coal. Duration, concentration, up to 10 minutes. Magical darkness spreads from a point you choose, within range to fill a 15-foot radius sphere for the duration. The darkness spreads around corners. A creature with dark vision can't see through this darkness, and non-magical light can't illuminate it. If the point you choose is on an object you are holding, or one that isn't being worn or carried, the darkness emanates from the object and moves with it, completely covering the source of the darkness with an opaque object, such as a bowl or a helm, blocks the darkness. If any of this spell's area overlaps with an area of light created by a spell of second level or lower, the spell that created the light is dispelled. You can get the spell as a feature of your character's race. It comes built in if you choose Drow or certain types of tieflings, in which case you'd get to cast the darkness spell for free once per day at level 5. It's also available through different PC classes. The darkness spell is on the sorcerer, warlock, and wizard spell lists, so they can pick it up whenever they want. Bards can always pick darkness as one of their magical secrets. Circle of the Land Druids can get the spell, but only if they choose the swamp for their circle spells feature. Way of Shadow Monks can cast darkness using their key points. Oathbreaker Paladins can gain access to this spell too, but these are not usually accessible to PCs. When my party first started using the spell, I wasn't sure how to apply the rules. I think a lot of DMs and players probably struggle with playing the spell right, and it usually comes down to how the D&D 5e rules for vision and light are applied. Vision and light. The most fundamental tasks of adventuring: noticing danger, finding hidden objects, hitting an enemy in combat, and targeting a spell, to name just a few, rely heavily on the character's ability to see. Darkness and other effects that obscure vision can prove a significant hindrance. A given area might be lightly or heavily obscured. In a lightly obscured area, such as dim light, patchy fog, or moderate foliage, creatures have a disadvantage on perception checks that rely on sight. A heavily obscured area, such as darkness, opaque fog, or dense foliage, blocks vision entirely. The creature effectively suffers from the blinded condition when trying to see something in that area. A blinded creature can't see and automatically fails any ability check that requires sight. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. The presence or absence of light in an environment creates 3 categories of illumination: bright light, dim light, and darkness. Bright light lets most creatures see normally. Even gloomy days provide bright light, as do torches, lanterns, fires, and other sources of illumination within a specific radius. Dim light, also called shadows, create a lightly obscured area. An area of dim light is usually a boundary between a source of bright light, such as a torch, and surrounding darkness. The soft light of twilight and dawn also counts as dim light. A particularly brilliant full moon might bathe the land in dim light. Darkness creates a heavily obscured area. Characters face darkness outdoors at night, even most moonlit nights, within the confines of an unlit dungeon or a subterranean vault, or in an area of magical darkness. You should still be able to target creatures inside and outside a field of darkness. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean you can't hear them or know where they are. If they take the hide action, however, you may lose track of them, and vice versa. You can still pick a place to fire within the darkness, but there's no guarantee that's actually where the target is going to be standing. Dark vision gives black and white sight in the dark, like night vision goggles. But all perception checks are at disadvantage because it is considered dim light. It's important to understand that dark vision won't help you see inside a sphere of darkness. Confusion about visibility in the darkness spell leads people to think that there should be different states of advantage or disadvantage. But really, if you think about it, everyone is on an equal playing field unless they see in the magical darkness, in which case they are at advantage and everyone else is at disadvantage. You can neither see nor be seen by your opponent in darkness, and they suffer from the same condition. Remember that in D&D 5e, advantage and disadvantage cancel each other out. So if you are at advantage and disadvantage, you only roll one time, no matter how many advantages or disadvantages are in play. If an enemy can see in its own darkness spell, though, watch out. Let's compare it side by side with Fog Cloud, and note how it's similar and dissimilar to darkness. Similar. All attacks are normal, no advantage or disadvantage. No opportunity attacks. You can tell where things are by listening and feeling. The spell goes around corners. You can't be targeted or target someone else while you're inside of it. Dissimilar. Fog Cloud is a first level spell. Darkness is a second level spell. Fog Cloud levels up. The range expands the higher you cast it. There is no upcasting bonus to darkness. In Fog Cloud, no vision will help. Not even Double Sight. Blind Sight and Tremor Sense will still work, though. Fog Cloud doesn't eliminate any other spells. Darkness can. Fog Cloud can be blown away or dispelled. Darkness has to be outlit or dispelled. Now let's look at how it can be used in play by examining Nemesis, who is a PC in my family game. Nemesis is a divine soul sorcerer, Hexblade Pact of the Chain Warlock in my family campaign, and she has an imp named Mo as her familiar. Here are some possibilities for how they could use Darkness and Devil's Sight together as a team. Since Mo is an imp that can both see in the darkness, and Nemesis can communicate with him telepathically up to 100 feet. Mo gets advantage on touch spells, which can be cast through him by Nemesis. It requires Nemesis to use her action to cast the spell, and Mo has to use his reaction to transmit the spell to the target he touches. It's interesting to note that it still leaves him with his action and movement. Nemesis has advantage on all attacks against enemies, and all enemies have a disadvantage on attacks against her, for anyone she sees inside or outside the darkness. Mo can carry the darkness with him, even holding his turn to use his movement on his reaction to follow an enemy. The rules say Nemesis can cast it on something she's holding, and Mo can just take it with him. It can also be cast on something on the ground, like a rock or a pebble, which Mo could then pick up. There are other ways to take advantage of this combo. Shadow Sorcerer, Way of the Shadow Monk, new Eldritch Adept feats can all come into play, but the Warlock gives you the heightened familiar that pairs so well. You can use Darkness as a quick escape, a distraction. You can use it to stop spells second level or lower that create light, such as Fairy Fire, Continual Flame, and the Cantrip Light, and anything that creates an aura of light as a spell. Fairy Fire is a really good spell that places an aura of light around a creature and grants advantage on attacks to everyone attacking the target. APCs. Anything you can do to the enemies is fair game to be used by them. What you gonna do when Fairy Fire runs wild on you? You can use it to attack a huge creature by hiding behind a sphere. You can see it can't see you. Cast it on an item in a box and use it as a darkness bomb. Close the lid, open it, darkness. Mo would be particularly good for this ploy. Use it as a launch pad grenade. Shadow magic sorcerers and Way of Shadow monks can teleport into darkness. Hide allied rogues. Help them get sneak attack. No opportunity attacks. Run away without being attacked. Cancels out disadvantage. Maybe you suffer from a spell or poisoned condition. or you're up close with a ranged weapon. You can't be targeted by spells where the caster has to see you to target you. Dark vision cannot see through it, only double sight, blind sight, tremor sense, and true sight. You can use a familiar with blind sight like a bat. You could wild shape into an animal that has senses like a shark or a scorpion. You can find a magic artifact like a gem of sin or a dagger of blind sight. Break the caster's concentration. Cast Dispel Magic. A spell like Daylight or Continual Flame that is cast at a level higher than 2 will dispel darkness. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button below. And know that the best thing you could do for this channel is to share this with someone who wants to know more about D&D 5e. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and try to have some fun.